the meeting. And what we're going to do is we are going to learn all about Kami. Now, Kami is a free app, but during our closure, they have a second level, a paid level, which allows you to do a lot more. And so they've given us that paid level for free through our closure. When we do finally get into the Kami app, you're going to see that it says that our temporary license expires in 15 days, which is the end of April. But Kami has assured me that if our closures extend beyond May 1st, then they will extend our license. And those apps that we've added through the Clever environment or through other means, vendors have really been generous and have reached out and allowed us to use their apps, like full versions of their apps, for free through our closures. So if you haven't checked out the OCS Tech Hub, the digital resources link inside there, I would recommend that you do. And then a little sales pitch for tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock. Join me, and I'll be walking you through that page because it is quite large and overwhelming. So I will be walking you through that. Just take about a half hour tops and walk you through that. So join me then if you're interested in doing that. So Kami is one of those that the company has generously offered their full version for free. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to share my screen. And in your case, it may be a matter of you going back and forth between the Kami app and your Google Classroom class and this session, this Google Meet, so that you can see what I'm doing, but yet do what I'm talking about on your own. Or you can certainly just take the time, sit back, watch what this is all about, take notes if you need to. You can go back. This recording will be posted up onto our website, so you can go back and rewatch and practice at a later time. So however you want to go about doing it, if you'd rather just watch what I'm doing the whole time, by all means, go ahead and do that. I will be bouncing back and forth between my Google Classroom class and the Kami environment. And then I just don't think I'm going to be able to show you what Abraham will see, but I will try. Okay. So I'm going to present now. So you should all be seeing my screen momentarily. There we go. Okay. So I'm going to flip over, not flip over, but I want you to notice in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, and even if you're watching me, you can do this. If you look, there should be a blue circle with a white K inside. That's the Kami extension that you just loaded. You might see other things. If you loaded that Google Meet grid extension, right next to it, you see a little grid, that's that one. And then you see on mine, I have a few others added. If you've ever added any other extensions, you'll see those up there. And what it's doing is just showing you all of the extensions that you've loaded. An extension basically is just a way to make Google Chrome more powerful. That's really all it is. These companies create these applications, these extensions, and you can add them to your Chrome environment just to be able to do more things. If you want to ever turn them off, like you can get a lot of extensions up there, and at some point you may see a little bit of a lagginess with your Google Chrome browsing, but I've got these up here and I don't believe that it's taking anything away from my browsing experience. But you can go to these three dots over here in the far upper right-hand corner. And by the way, if you're watching me still on grid view, you might want to turn your grid off with this little tool right here, because then that will make my screen, the presentation screen, bigger, and that might help you see things a little better. So maybe turn your grid off for that point. But anyway, you can go to these three dots, and those three dots may be a red circle with an arrow inside if you have a Chrome update that needs to be installed. So I just did mine this morning, And so if I click on those, so I have 3 dots. If you click on those 3 dots and then you go to more tools and extensions, you'll go into a place where, and you don't have to now, but you'll go into a place where you can turn extensions on and off if you're not using them, or you can completely delete one if you loaded one and you're like, oh, this wasn't what I was thinking. I don't want that one anymore. You can go and just totally delete it out. Okay. So just to give you a little side note on those extensions. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do, and I see Deb and Jennifer are here, and I'm going to do something a little differently than what I did this morning. I'm going to go directly into the Kami app and go through all the tools inside the Kami app. The one thing that's really cool about providing a PDF to your students and giving them the opportunity to complete that PDF is that you can prep it with some annotations before you even give it to them. And so we're going to talk about that too before we actually create the assignment in our Google Classroom. So if you would all follow my lead here, and everybody can do this, okay? We're going to go ahead and click on the blue circle extension in the upper right corner. It's going to open a new tab, and you're going to get a screen, and you might get a screen that asks you to connect with your Google account. So follow those steps. You know, pick your school Google account. You have to allow Kami to have access to your Google Drive, all that kind of stuff. So if you're following along with me on the screen, then you will see eventually a screen that looks like what I'm showing. If you're going to try and do this on your own, then just pop back to the Google Meet just to make sure you're at the right spot. So I'll wait here for just a couple of seconds to make sure everybody is at the right spot. All right, with no questions, I will assume that everybody has done that and you're all in a good spot. So we have a bunch of choices here. At the very top, you'll see OCR, split, and merge. We're going to cover those at the very, very end today. You also see open from Google Drive, open from your computer. Maybe you've got something on your desktop, not in Google Drive. You can create a Classroom assignment right from here. So that's an option as well. Or you can make a new blank page. Now, if you want to practice these tools along with me, and you don't have a PDF ready to go, like, you know, you're like, I don't know where I have any PDFs and it's going to take me too long to find one. You can just simply make a new blank page. So I'm going to open from Google Drive because I have a folder that I already created for that has a bunch of PDFs in it just for this class. So I'm going to say open from Google Drive. And it will prompt you again to go through and authenticate your Google Drive account into Kami. So I'll wait for a second for you guys to do that. You won't have to do that again. And I believe your students will have to do the same thing, but once they do it the first time, they won't have to do it again. So once you get into this screen, you're going to see all your folders that you have in Google Drive. You're going to see any PDF. You can click on PDFs and it'll show you every PDF on your computer. So if you want to just, you know, go grab one, you can grab any one. It really doesn't matter. Shared drives is not the shared with me. That's something different. And then you can, if you had any starred, you can go to those, or maybe you worked on one recently, you can go to your recent files as well. I have this folder called PDF assignment. So I'm just going to double click on that one and I'm going to get into that one because that's where I have these few PDF files that I have ready to go. And I'm going to open up my file called olympics.pdf. Of course, you don't have that, but open up a PDF if you're following along with me. And everybody should be at either a white blank screen if you started from scratch, if you didn't find a PDF, or maybe you opened your own PDF, or you're just watching. So however you want to go about it. And I am going to just basically follow along the left-hand column, and we're going to talk about all of those tools, and I will give you some suggestions as to how you might use those yourself to prep the PDF, and also how the students might use those as they open the PDF on their end. Before we get to that, I want you to just look at the blue bar at the top. Of course, it says you're a teacher. Students won't say that. It says trial ends in 15 days, like I was talking about, but that will be extended if our closure gets extended. And then you see some other tools, a search tool. You can toggle that sidebar on and off. Over to the right, I want you to notice your initials. In the very, very far right, your initials are in a little circle over there. That's indicating that you're the one that is editing this document. There's a save button, and then there's a download. I'll talk about the save and the download in a little bit. So I think I'm ready to go ahead and get started. So in my document, and if you would, everyone flip over to the Google Meet just so you're watching. I want to just give you a little bit of an overview, and then I'll get into the tools. So everyone in the Google Meet looking at my screen, this file is a PDF file that has editable text. Not editable, but actual text on it. This is not a PDF that you scanned on the copy machine and it got sent to you as a quote PDF. It's not really a PDF. It's just basically an image that is a PDF file. So at the very end of today's session, I'll show you how to take those scanned documents and make them a file that is like what I have, which is a file that I can click and highlight text, which is, I think, the best option. Okay, so when I made this file, when I put this file together, I created one that had some text in it. I have some questions that maybe I want my students to answer, and I have I just threw this in just for math purposes so that I can show you how to use a particular tool, the equation editor inside of Kami. So I'll be going over that in a little bit later. So I just wanted to show you that this particular file has editable text in it, and you can highlight it and do certain things with it. All right. So I'm gonna go to the first tool, the arrow tool, and you get 3 tools that pop out. We can't really see the effect of those quite yet because we don't have any objects yet. So I'm going to skip those for now, and I will come back to them once we've got some content, some annotations in our document. The next tool down right underneath that is the dictionary tool. So I'm going to click on that dictionary tool. This is an awesome tool. I think you'll find it very beneficial. Hopefully it will be beneficial for your students. When you're in that tool, if you just go over, and this again only is if it is real text, not an image. Okay, so everything that I'm going to be talking about, except for one item or a couple items, has to do with if it's something that has that highlightable text. So if I click on the word summer, it's going to define the word summer. If I go over here and click on obligated, it's going to give me the definition of obligated. So it will define any word that the student clicks on. So that's dictionary, very straightforward. The next one is very cool. It's the text to speech. So I'm going to click on the text to speech icon. I'm going to click in front of evolution. And I'm just going, and it's going, now you can see it highlighting, but you can't hear it because you can't hear, but my computer is actually reading these words. Okay, I'm going to hit stop because it's bothering me. But when you start to play, it will actually read the text. Again, only if it's not an image type text. So the tools inside here are read the previous sentence, read the next sentence, loop, like loop the document. When it's done reading it, read it again. The play and stop buttons, you can choose, there's a few voices in there that you can change the voices. And then the speed. By default, it starts out at 1x, like one time. And I find that to be a little fast. I reduced it down to 0.8, and you do so just by clicking on it and just dragging the slider. And it doesn't really tell you, but you can see it in the little black area. I found that 0.8 seems to be pretty good, or maybe 0.7, just depending on your students' level of how they, how they want to hear it. So they can do this as well. You can't define this, but they can do it on their end. And that will define how quickly it reads that text. So that is text to speech. The next tool is the markup tool. The markup tool is great for your purposes and for the students' purposes. So for example, let's say, and again, you don't have to be looking at my screen, but this might help you if you're looking at my screen as I start with this. So you might want to highlight certain parts of the document that you want them to focus on. And so I might want to highlight the allowing the organizing committees to host countries. I might want to highlight that sentence. If I am in the highlighter tool and I highlight over that text, it will highlight whatever color I've chosen. I can change that color. So if I roll over that highlight, I can change the color on the fly and make it whatever color I want. I can delete that highlighting. And then I can add, and here's the cool thing, I can convert this to a comment. Now we're going to talk about the comments in just a second, which is the next tool down, but you can convert this to a comment right from the highlight tool. I will hold off on that as we finish off going through the rest of the tools inside here. I'm going to jump over the second one, which is box highlighter. I'm going to go to the strike through. Okay, so I'm going to go to the strike through. I'm going to go to a certain amount of text, and I'm just going to strike through. Again, it will strike through in whatever color that I have chosen on my color palette. And then underline is the same thing. Underlines text that I highlight in whatever color I have chosen. The tool I skipped over, which is the box highlighter, that is a highlighter that you can use on this type of document, but it's the only one that'll work if you've given your students an image, meaning it's not this highlightable text. Okay, so if your PDF is not highlightable text, the only highlight tool that will work is the box highlighter. You can still kind of do the same thing, but it's not like highlight a sentence and it will automatically highlight for you. You have to just draw the box around the region that you want to highlight. It's also a great way to highlight, if you've got any kind of other annotation. Okay, the next tool is the comment tool. I think this is really great for you as the teacher to prep your document with some things like this. For example, I'm going to go to the first one, which is the text comment. And I'm going to scroll down here and I'm going to say, actually, before I do that, because I want to do it on this one. So I'm going to, erase, actually, I'm just going to undo. There we go. Okay, I just undid Command Z until that highlight was gone because I wanted to use this one on my example. So I'm going to take this, yeah, go ahead. Tell me who you are because I don't know who's talking. Okay, I thought someone had a question. So I'm going to go to the comment tool and I'm going to highlight that first sentence. The reasoning behind the change is, I'm going to highlight that whole sentence and I'm going to make that a comment. And what I'm going to put in the comment is it's going to be a prompt for my students. So like I might say something like, what is your reaction to this this change? And I put in that comment as a little prompt. And what the students will then be directed to do by you is to reply to that comment, and that is their response. In that reply to the comment, they will be responding to your prompt. But there are some things that can take this to the next level. Very cool things, okay? So I'm going to keep that there, but then I'm just going to randomly highlight this next one. And instead of typing the prompt, and your students can do this as well, by the way, especially for your little ones that maybe can't type very well, and can't spell very well. This tool right here, the voice typing, is fantastic. If you click on that, and I'm going to in just a second, it's going to prompt to allow the use of your microphone. Okay, I already have, so it's not going to prompt me, but for you, if you're testing this out, it's going to prompt you to allow your microphone to be used. So I'm going to click on that little guy right there. And this is how I can simply put in my answer to the teacher's prompt, period. Turn it off, and there you go. So anybody can answer the prompt regardless of their keyboarding skills. Although hopefully they're getting better, and maybe you're allowing some time for them to do keyboarding in your instructions, and hopefully you're recommending that maybe if they just want to go on and be active on the computer, that they would get into EduTyping. I would recommend that. So that's that little tool. Let's take it up a notch even more. The very next level or next tool inside there, it looks like a little microphone. So I'm going to click on that little microphone. This time I'm going to highlight some text, and I'm just going to do random text here. I'm going to highlight this right here. And it's going to actually record my voice right on the fly. So it starts recording right on the fly. It's recording my voice. I have a maximum of 5 minutes that I can share with them. That's a long time. But I have 5 minutes that I can talk to the students about what I have just highlighted. And then you just click that little box and it stops that recording. So when the students open this, if you've prepped with all of this stuff and the students open this inside of Kami, they're going to be able to click that play button and they're going to be able to hear exactly what you said. In addition, they're going to be able to give their own reply using their own voice. So you can actually hear your students replying because they have that ability to record their own voice, and it gets sent back to you through the Kami document. So that's really, really cool. Let's take it up one more notch. The very next tool is a video comment. If you click that tool, I'm going to go down just a little bit, highlight some more text. It actually opens up a video, and it's recording me talking to the students. So not only can they hear me, they can actually see me. And again, you have 5 minutes worth on this particular recording as well. Guess what? The kids can do the same back to you. So if they go and they do a reply, it's going to pop open their camera and they can video themselves in a safe environment right inside this Kami doc that you can then see when the student turns in this file. The next one is the screen capture. I'm not going to go through that one. You can try it out, but I don't see that as a huge benefit. We've got a lot of other screen recording capabilities, so I'm not really going to cover that one with today. So that is the comment section. So I'll pause and ask if there's any questions about that one. Y'all are still with me, right? Okay, just checking. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the Kami tab. The next tool is text boxes. This is pretty straightforward. I'm going to scroll down to my questions just to show you. Very straightforward. I click the text box. I can pick my size of font. I can pick my color of the text. If I just click and inside of an area, I can just type my text. However, if you notice up top here, you have different fonts, you have different line spacing. I'm not going to go through all of these things, but what I am going to point to is this little microphone over here. The voice typing also works inside of the text tool as well, or text boxes as well. So if I click that little guy, I can now record whatever I have, and it will type that out as I'm speaking. And then just turn that off, and it's there as well. So that tool works inside of text boxes as well. Oh yeah, I always forget about this one. They've also incorporated emojis. So I think that's just for fun. So I don't know, be careful with that one. The students I'm sure will find it, and we'll be adding emojis all sorts of places on inside of their text files. There's text objects. The next tool is the equation uh, tool. Not sure how much of you would have a need for this in a K4 environment, but I do want to just show it to you just so that you can see. This tool also works inside of the text tool under the formula. Okay, so I'm just going to go to this tool right here, the equation tool. Again, you can choose your font size. There's a whole bunch of mathematical symbols inside here. So maybe some angles and greater than, less than. So maybe some of these tools, there are some music notes and things like that that you might be able to use for music class. So I'm just going to click over here. Let me get out of that. Okay, I'm just going to click over here, and I just want to show you X, and then the keystroke is Shift-6. It makes an exponent. So X squared, and then if you do a space, it takes you back down to the normal level, plus 1. Okay, so you can make a simple equation. I can click elsewhere, I can make another one, and I can make fractions very, very easily. 1/2. If I just use the slash on my keyboard, it thinks that I want to make a fraction. So you could make, and then the space bar takes me back. So 1/2 plus 2/3 space equals, and so I can make myself a nice little, so that might be a benefit for you if you want to create, you know, a math worksheet, if you wanted to create one from scratch. Since we're at this point, I'm going to go up to this tool, the select tool, the arrow tool. If you're doing this on your own, the arrow tool all the way at the top. The select text is the way that you can move, I'm sorry, the way that you can move these things around. Okay, but you have to kind of get on the edge of them. Come on. No, it's not moving that one. Maybe it's just the text objects. The hand tool might, yeah, nope, the hand tool just moves me up and down on the screen. Oh, there we go, the select annotations. So that's how I can move this guy around on the screen. Sorry about that. So this is for your selecting of text, and this is all those other types of annotations to just move them around on the screen. Again, oftentimes you get a dialog box where you can change the font, change the color, delete that item. Maybe you want to copy and paste it to duplicate it, so you can do that as well. The next tool is the drawing tool. I will be very honest with you. This is a much better tool if we all had touch screens. So if I've got any of my kindergarten or first grade teachers, this tool is going to be very nice for you. I apologize, second, third, and fourth teachers. There still is some drawing that the students can do. It's just not the greatest. I've got a pen with a stylus tip, and so it's a little clunky, but if I move my cursor over to this region, I can actually draw. Okay, they can, and then they can maybe make a smiley face. Okay, I could even, if I'm really good at it, I can duplicate that equation or that expression. Again, not the greatest, I know, but I just want you to show, I wanted to show you that it's possible. Okay, and of course you got your colors and your thickness and all that. The next tool is the shapes tool. This is much better for the trackpad. You can make yourself a square, a circle, a rectangle, a line, different colors, different thicknesses. Okay, but if you didn't know this, with the rectangle and the ellipse tool, if you hold down the shift key, this goes with anything, Word, slides, Google Docs, all of that. If you are making a shape and you hold the shift key down for the ellipse, it'll make a perfect circle, no matter what you do with your cursor. Same thing with the rectangle tool. If I hold the shift key down, it will make a square, no matter what I do. If I want to move those around, go back to the select tool. These are annotations. I can then move them around on the screen. Oops. First select them and then move them around on the screen. So that is the shapes tool. Okay, the next one is the eraser. There's two choices in the eraser. The first one is the annotations. So if I go up to my annotations, I'll go up to this one where I just highlighted in pink. I just click on it and it deletes it. So those are for the annotations. The next one are for the drawings and shapes. So if I click on that one, I can go down here and I can click on the circle and it just erases those drawings or shapes. Going back up to the select tool and the select annotations tool, if I draw a rectangle around a bunch of annotations, I can delete them all at once. Not the text boxes, but the drawings and shapes. So if I hit the delete there, it will take those off. It didn't get this one because it was not in my selection area. Oh, it looks like it took the text box away too. It doesn't take away these guys. It doesn't take away the annotations, just all of the items that we added through these other tools. The last tool on that left-hand side is the signature tool. I'm not going to cover that one, but what it gives you the ability to do is to add your signature onto any, like digitally sign something. So you can physically add your physical signature onto a file and then send it to somebody. Okay, so those are all of the tools inside of this document, inside of this Kami environment. Any questions that you have before we get into how to then assign that inside of Google Classroom? It's a piece of cake, but any questions? Anything that you want me to talk about some more? Okay, so again, you can make it as simple as, a PDF that you hand out to your students with one little paragraph, and then down below they're supposed to answer something, and they can do so with a text box, or they can draw something, or they can add a comment, or add their video, or add their voice, or you can be as elaborate as what I have here with, a whole paragraph, and you've got all of these other types of things along the right-hand side. Okay, so what I want for you to do now is to, again, if you're just watching, you can just continue to watch. But if you are trying to do this yourself and you think you've got something that you want to test out, but by all means, you can make this hidden too. So you don't have to have your students even see it if you're trying this out on your own. But if I go back to my class, so here I am in my demo classroom. And I've got Abraham Lincoln as my one and only one student. I did add Deb, but I don't know if you have joined my class or not yet. So you're just like always, you're going to go to the classwork tab and you're going to create an assignment. Now the choice, which is now available because you have the Kami extension loaded inside of Chrome, and the students, they'll be able to do all of this because we are force loading that extension onto their Chromebooks. You didn't see this before, but this is what I'm saying, the extension works to make Chrome better. So it's making Google Classroom better by adding that right in there. So you definitely want to choose Kami assignment. You're going to pick what class you want it for. You're going to pick the title. I'm just going to call this, I'm going to call it Olympics 4. Again, you can choose whether it's published or whether this is just a draft. So if you don't want your students to see it, if you're really doing this along with me. And then we're going to add that Kami assignment or that Kami file. Now here's where it gets slightly tricky for both you and the students. The question is, where is that file that we've been playing around with? Okay, I'm going to go up here and I'm going to click save just to, yep, and I'm going to save now. But it just to be sure, it does save it as I'm working. So, but I can always give it a one last push, I guess, if you will. Okay. And then I'm going to go to my Google Drive. And go into my Google assignments. And because I opened this guy right here, and you can see 143 by me, that's the file that has all of my prep annotations in it. My voice, my video, all of those highlights, those other drawings that I decided to put into the document so my students could have them at the get-go. So all of those files are there. So you just have to make sure that you go find that file that contains all of those annotations. So I'm going to go back to my file here. I'm going to go click here and I'm going to get it from my Google Drive. I'm going to go into my PDF assignment. And there's my Olympics PDF. I'm going to click select. This little, and it says make a copy for each student. That's recommended because then they're not all annotating the exact same document. They have their own that they're going to submit back to you. And then you simply assign. So you'll see now that I am logged in as Abraham, and he automatically has the Kami extension loaded. And so if I just simply go into the classroom as Abraham, I see the assignment that we created when we all were together this afternoon. So if I click on that assignment as Abraham, he will see the assignment over here. When he clicks on the PDF, and here's the directions, by the way, that Deb gave us the link for. And so when he clicks on this file right here, it will open in a screen that looks just like what we saw when we were opening it. And so if I click on open with Kami, Abraham will see all of my annotations that I put into the document to begin with. And at that point, he can do whatever he wants to with it. He can actually remove one of mine, which is a little bit of a downside, but he can remove any of the teacher annotations. But the cool part is he can go to the what is your reaction to this change? And he can answer it, and notice that his letters, his initials are inside the circle where mine are up above. He can listen, and you're not going to hear this. It won't play through this screen recording, but he can listen to the audio. And he can actually watch the video that you put in there. He can go down and add any text boxes or anything. When he's done, here's the part that I was telling you about. He has the turn in button. If they don't provide the, if this doesn't pop up right at the beginning, then it will pop up at some point, and all the student has to do is authorize Google Drive and choose his account, allow, and now it will continue to save that file for that student. And when he's all ready, he can click on the Turn In button. There's a blue Turn In button right here. Click on Turn In, and at that point it will process that file, save it to Google Drive, and also turn it in. So as soon as it finishes processing, over here it will now say done. But let's say even the student might have forgotten to do a particular step. Maybe they forgot to answer a question or add an annotation. If they go back to do any additional annotations, it will prompt them. Do they want to unsubmit that file? They can unsubmit at that point. It now says turn in again. The student can go and complete those annotations that they were supposed to do. And once they're done for good, they can click on Turn In again. And it will process all over again. Once it finishes that process, the student is done with the assignment. I thought it might also be good to show you where that file goes in the student's Google Drive. So if I make a new tab and open up Abraham's Google Drive, you'll see that there's a folder that gets made for my course. So your students will have folders for any courses that they belong to. So if I double click that to get into that file, I will see that file. The owner is me. The last modified was me at 3:01. And at this point, the student could technically open it. However, the read-write application is kind of like taking control over the Kami one. So the only way that the students could open it at this point would be to right click on it and open with, and then annotate with Kami. However, they probably won't need to get back into the file, but just know that it's there, and that's how they turn it into you. That's their file, and then there's another file that got turned into you. So now I'm going to go and log in as myself, as the teacher again, and show you what it looks like on the teacher's end. So now I'm back logged in as me, as the teacher, and I'm into my demo classroom that I was using for our training. And here's the assignment that I assigned to Abraham. And I can see once I get in there that both Abraham and Deb have turned the assignment in. And so I'm going to go ahead and click on Abraham's PDF that he turned into me. And what we'll see is that we do see the file come in, and we see where I can give him comments and a grade. But the downside is that I don't see the annotations the way I see them in Kami. So that the only option for that is to go up here with the open with and choose annotate with Kami. It does open another tab, but at this point I can see all of those annotations that Abraham did. I can see his response. I can see any other annotations. If he left me any audio responses or anything, I can view them there as well. The other thing I wanted to point out to you is down here in the lower right corner. These are the two circles that I was telling you about during the training, and it shows that I have some annotations on this file, and so does Abraham. The little green dot indicates that I'm online. Abraham is not online currently. But the cool thing is I can click on my annotations, and it turns off all of the ones that I did and shows me only the ones that Abraham did. So if you do get to the point where you have two students maybe working on a file, you can see the annotations that each one of them did, and you can turn on and off that particular student's annotations to help you look at who contributed to the file. Once you've got all of that taken care of and you're ready to give it a grade, you can always go back to this page right here and assign the grade and any private comments that you want to give to that particular student.